Oh, man.
Oh, amen. Thank you for that. I'd say 80% of the people that watch these videos, we're not on the same page. 10% want to be on it, but we don't deal with it. But there's something going on.
The AI on the
We
phone
don't
is
know it. We were
interrupting.
told we would know when we were in the season. You look
The
around
phone is
right
saying, I
now.
don't know if you're talking to me or not.
Jesus, you're going to come get us soon, aren't
You
you?
know,
You're going to rapture your
I'm
soon.
trying to get comfortable.
I know it because I just
Oh,
heard it.
gosh.
And our head is in the sand. I'm not.
Oh,
My head was in the sand for a long time.
goodness.
I mean, I've been living in
So,
the Word since I was a teenager. I knew about that stuff.
I'm
I would
watching the
also walk
Watchman
away
River
from it.
channel, which is Tom's
I
channel.
would also walk away from it.
I don't know if you've ever gone to Watchman River, but Tom is a nice, nice guy. He gives the news, and he gives the news as it relates to Bible prophecy. And as far as I'm concerned, he's all of this craziness is happening, and it seems like a lot of it is on purpose. You can shout out and say hi. I'll say hi back. But the news now, we're just now coming out of winter. Spring will be like what? March 22nd will be the first day of spring. Is that right? And they're saying it's going to be one of the hottest summers on record. So, fam, when you go to the store and you see all the new spring stuff, fans and air conditioners and emergency ice packs and stuff, you better get that stuff while you can. A good way to make your own and that makes a good emergency ice pack that can be refrozen over and over again. So I'm not sure if you can eat it after you do that because of the spores that rice tends to get in them. But it makes a good emergency ice pack. So I'm just kicking back today. The IBS let up a little bit, and I was able to have some coffee this morning because that thing with the coffee has not let up, and drinking tea has not done it for me. So, and I'm gonna tell you something, fam. Hey, Angel, how are you? Oh man, it was good, and I had half and half in it, and real honey, and the honey makes all the difference in coffee. And I found out that you can successfully freeze half and half, so it won't go bad. And you freeze it, and then you shake it up real good, and you put it in your coffee, and it makes a real foamy cup of coffee, just like a expensive Starbucks coffee. The cream, when you freeze it, it breaks into little teeny particles and makes a real foamy, delicious cup of coffee. So from now on, that's what I'm doing. So, and then I just had toast with grape jelly. When you get older, your digestive system goes on like a 2 day clock where one day you just want to eat everything in sight, and then the next day you don't want to eat anything. That's kind of where I'm at today. Yesterday, Man Raj got me two McDonald's crispy chicken sandwiches. I wanted filet of fish, but I guess they were out. And now all these companies are the same. You order one thing and they give you whatever they have. The crispy chicken was fine, but it was just it was chicken on a roll with two pickles and no condiments at all. No lettuce, no tomato, no mayonnaise, no nothing. So I had to doll it up myself, as my blue-haired old mother would say. When when she died, and it shocked me at how poor we were. There was one month where, after paying all the bills, she had $1.88 left after the month. And this was back when you could get a cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke for 80 cents at McDonald's. So she had $1.88 left, and she wrote in her journal that she went to McDonald's. I think she took one of my nieces, and then she wrote sarcastically in the bottom, yay, you know, that she had worked and scrimped and saved and had $1.88 left at the end of the month to buy herself something. I don't remember very much of my mother. She died tragically when I was very young. And what happened was, back then, when this stuff first started happening in the 70s, they had a neighbor, an elderly couple, and they were having breakfast, and a man broke into their home, and they were having breakfast, and he robbed them, and he tied them up, and then he poured their coffee that they had made over top of the old couple in contempt. So I had a friend who was a cop, and I got my parents a big old canister of police mace. That wouldn't do it for my father. He wanted a GUN. So I found an ex-FBI agent who had retired, who was selling his GUN, and I took my father, bought it. My father, instead of putting it in a box and carrying it out to the car, and I said to myself, I've made a huge mistake. So long story short, in the interests of safety, my father my father put the GUN in between the mattress of the bed on my mother's side, which I find very interesting. But he put it in between the mattress on my mother's side of the bed. And they had a party, and my niece changed her little kid on the bed, and the bed got messed. So when my niece pulled the sheets out of the bed to change the bed, the GUN fell on the floor, pointing at her. And my mother went off. And so long story short, they had a bad fight. She had a heart attack and a stroke. And that was that. Hey, what's that? What's up, Hungry? How are you? I was watching Hungry Fat Chick's channel this morning, and she had done a breakfast challenge, and she had sausage, gravy, and biscuits, which I haven't been able to eat for over 40 years. I haven't had it. Candy is a trip, and she knows me. if I'm doing tolerable, thanks. She knows me. If I send her you know, a little bit of a criticism, she'll roll with it. The only thing I don't understand is that hey, how are you? Uh the only thing I don't understand is that she lives in the most beautiful city in the world, practically, in Las Vegas, and there are 4 community pools around her, and she could go and splash around in a pool, and she would be free of all of the uh, aches and pains of her bones and the weight and everything. The pool is the best exercise for a morbidly obese person. So, she stays home in her chair. She says she doesn't even want to have a pet because a pet triggers her. I guess the barking. But I'll tell you, in this day and age, fam, if I was going to get a pet, I'd get myself a pit bull. I'd get a compact little dog that can protect you, as crazy as stuff is getting. And back to my point, they said that this summer is probably going to be the hottest summer on record with the solar flares and all. So, like I said, when the stores open up and they start selling fans and air conditioners and stuff, you need to stock up on fans, and you need to stock up on on one of those solar generators. I did a good video on how to build your own solar generator for $100, and I'm going to do a remake of that in the next few days, Lord willing. Because all you need is a power inverter. You can get a really strong power inverter for $50 off Amazon. You can get a solar panel for $25, and you can get a battery for $27. So little, because everything's gone up in price. But for a little over $100, you can have your own homemade power supply free from the sun, and that way you always have TV and a fan at least. My entertainment system runs off batteries, and it has a big 60-inch TV and a sound bar and a DVD player that will run off of my power inverter for free. And when the power goes out, it really freaks people out when they hear that you still have all your stuff going on. Oh, thank you for the heart. Another thing I'm going to tell you is, as crazy as stuff is getting, you need to fill your bathtub up with water and keep it filled with water. When the stuff hits the fan, that 35 or 50 gallons of water, depending on what size tub you have, is going to be a very big deal to flush your toilets and to wash your dishes. Hey, New York, how are you? Love you too. So, I got a couple of buddies in New York. New York's finest. I got Justin Johnson up in New York. New York's got a lot of good people. I drove a school bus into New York in the middle of the night years ago to deliver this school bus, and it was funny. The school bus would only do like 50 miles an hour, and people were driving by cussing at it, and we had to Oh, you're from New York too. So I got a lot of people from New York. But the funny thing was we went up. We took 5 school buses to New York in a convoy, and by the time we got up to New York, we were so hungry that we had this massive breakfast at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we ate most of the money that we were given for chauffeuring the buses up there. I got the worst bus with wobbly wheels and a transmission that kept popping out of gear. But I held in there, and it was an exciting trip, middle of the night. And then at 4 o'clock in the morning, when we got back to Maryland, I still had to drive a trash truck. I'm tolerable. I'm tolerable. How about you? So I got up this morning, my blood pressure was low. So I said, well, the IBS is settled down, the blood pressure is low. I'm gonna have myself a cup of coffee. Oh, brother, I haven't been to New York City in a long time. The closest to New York I ever got was there was an authentic deli in Rockville, Maryland, and they had great Reubens and corned beef sandwiches and all of that stuff, and a big pickle. Whether you wanted it or not, you got a big pickle on your plate. And they had egg creams and all the good New York stuff that I can't eat anymore. So at least I can remember it. And when I get to heaven, my house is going to be near my father's house. My father's house is going to have a chocolate and coffee fountain out in front. Coffee was good. It was Maxwell House decaf, and Man Raj last month got me Folgers decaf. Both of them were surprisingly good. Now decaf still has caffeine in it. It's got 1.5% caffeine, whereas regular coffee is 3% caffeine. And I use a Brita filter. I mean, one of those Melita filters. And yeah, there's a Katz's Deli in Rockville. There's Snyder's and there's Katz's. I'm pretty sure it's the same family as up in New York. But I use a Melita filter, and I got some milk last month, and the milk was from a good dairy, very tasty, but it had hair and it had dirt in the milk. And I was really surprised. And so I didn't throw the milk out. I poured the milk through a Melita coffee filter. Works perfectly. It'll take anything out of the milk that you don't want to drink, that you don't know about. And you put the coffee filter over a glass, pour your milk, and you have good, safe milk to drink. That's the only way I'll drink milk now. And I put the glass in the freezer so that milk is ice cold. That's the only way I'll drink it if it doesn't have chocolate in it. But I'm old school. I won't waste anything. And then the water, you can't trust the water nowadays. So I take a Melita coffee filter. I put a couple of tablespoons of activated charcoal in the filter. You pour your water over that, and then you boil the water. I don't drink any water unless it's been boiled in my teapot. And see, other people, they get giardia and all of this other stuff and diarrhea. And then they hear on the news that the water has had a problem for a few hours, but they already drank it. I don't have to worry because I filter my water twice through a tap filter, and then I pour it over a charcoal filter with my Melita coffee filter. Then I pour that into a teapot and boil the heck out of it. And then I'll either drink it hot or let it cool down. It makes wonderful iced tea. And I use that pink saccharin in the iced tea. And fam, you don't have to worry about that stuff. They gave so much of that stuff to the rats, to give them cancer when they tested that stuff to cause a problem. I don't know why the internet is flaking in and out, but the electricity has been doing that too. It's almost like somebody is trying to trip the internet up and to trip the electric up. It's like somebody's trying to trip it. Ever since they had that Rambo movie that showed Rambo shooting at the hey 420, what's up? Ever since they had that Rambo movie that showed Rambo shooting at the transformer, that gave people the wrong idea. And so people, of course, are doing it now. That's the bad thing about those movies. And the thing about these trains that are derailing, somebody has found out that if you lay a cable across the railroad tracks on a diagonal, it'll derail a train. So they're not telling you that, but it's really not the railroad's fault. It's not the railroad's fault. It's just that these people are learning stuff that they shouldn't learn, and they're doing it. When I find out something like that, I won't put it on the internet, because if you tell people, well, you can do this or you could do that, people take it the wrong way and they use it the wrong way. I use a cup that Justin gave me, and it's got an infuser filter, and you warm the cup and you put the infuser in the cup, put your Melita filter in it, put the coffee in it, pour the water in it, and let it steep, just like tea. That way you use less coffee, and it's strong enough. I hate weak coffee. I don't like weak coffee or weak people. So, but getting back to what I was saying about all of these accidents and stuff, if you live in the Ohio area and you have polluted water now because of that train wreck, you can fix that very easily by going on to Amazon and getting an ozonator for an aquarium. They cost $20 on Amazon, and it's a quartz light that gives off a blue light. And you plug that in and you just lay it in the water of your pond or your creek, and that blue light will break up that dioxin that's in that poison and help for nature to get rid of it. But I've seen all of the videos where somebody will throw a rock into a creek and all these blue and purple ripples will happen because of the millions of gallons of poison that they let get dumped into those rivers. And that's a shame. If they had taken their time, they could have offloaded that stuff from that train into tanker trucks. But they wanted the Yeah, I agree. It's depopulation. They wanted the train to get back to work quickly. So some knucklehead, probably Pete Buttigieg, said to set that crap on fire, cause this horrific disaster. I'll tell you one thing that makes me suspicious about our government is the amount of incompetent people that they have in government. That seems to be on purpose too. Like, oh, I forget that one guy's name. The weaselly little guy that every time he goes to a congressional meeting or a senatorial meeting, he says he's unprepared and he doesn't have the information and he doesn't know. Send me to Washington for 250,000 a year. I can sit there and tell people I don't know. I can tell people I don't know as good as anybody else for that 250K that they're paying Mayorkas every year. The guy has a meeting. He knows he's going to the meeting, but when he gets there, he doesn't know anything. And these people never get fired. That's the thing that I don't get when Donald people in a position because they last for 2 or 3 weeks and then they get fired, you know. I worked for a man who was like that. And I worked hard and I went on vacation. And he told me, he said, when you get off vacation, come in Monday at 2. I was at Monday at 2 in the afternoon. Why wouldn't I show up at work time, you know? He's like, because you fired. And one of the kind men at work had told the company that I was job hunting on my vacation. And see, that's what's vicious about gossip. So I came back to no job and got my check. And I was like, well, gee, thanks, fellas. Thanks for telling them I was quitting. And so I went down the street to Laidlaw at the time, Laidlaw Trucking. And I went in, I said hi to the guy. He's, hey, Will, how you doing? Where are you working? I said, here. He said, what do you mean? You don't work here? I said, I do now. He liked that. He liked that. He gave me a driver's test on the truck right off the bat, hired me right off the bat. And the funny thing was I had worked at this other company where this great big guy, Tim, was the truck driver. I was a supervisor. I always had a light touch. I was always respectful, you know. But when I got over to Genstar Laidlaw, he was a supervisor and I was a truck driver, so it flipped. And he looked like the skipper off of Gilligan's Island. And he was doing a Gilligan's moment. He said, and now I'm the supervisor and I'm your boss. I said, okay, I don't care. Doesn't matter. A paycheck is a paycheck. And he did a real dirty thing to me. After a month or so working there, because I was articulate, I was the type that I drove a garbage truck with a bow tie. You can't hop in and out of a truck safely with the business tie, but the bow tie was back in the 50s, the working man's tie for a milkman or garbage man and all that. They wore bow ties back then. And back in the 1800s, the men would actually like dig ditches and stuff in a 3-piece suit. If you go back and you look at the Old West, and the men are digging a ditch or something, they're digging a ditch in a three-piece suit. That was the expectation back then of being neatly dressed regardless of what you did. So Tim tells me, he says, you're not on the truck tomorrow. You're going to work in the office. And it was hot out. And I was like, wow, working in the office, pushing paper, working at the computer. Nice. So I come in dressed to the hilt the next day, come into the office to work, and Tim hands me a paintbrush. So here I am in a three-piece suit, and I'm going to ruin it, by painting. So the office was a very complicated three-layer purple that they had painted this company. The trucks were all three shades of purple. The office was three shades of purple. And they redid the office because they had everybody's desk pointing to each other instead of private. The idea was that if you had a man right across from you on the phone, that they would tattletale on each other and keep each other busy. That was the ideology of their office. So they had to paint things that they had moved. So I was like, I'm going to show him. And I gave it the most perfect paint job that they had ever seen in a three-piece suit. And they kept me and they fired Tim because nobody liked him. So I didn't have anything to do with that, but it was one of those things where he was this big, overbearing bully, and they knew that he had done a raw deal on me, having me show up to paint the office in a three-piece suit. But I had been to the rodeo before. That wasn't the first time for that kind of jerky behavior. So I took it in stride. And like I said, they kept me and got rid of him. But speaking of getting rid of somebody, I got to go, fam. I got to go get myself something to eat because old people get all shaky, when their sugar get low and everything. So I got to have a little bit of something more for the morning. I love you all. I care about you all. Remember, the good Lord loves you too. Keep that bathtub full of water because I guarantee you, when the stuff hits the fan, you're going to need it. Always be ready. Always be prepped up. And always be in good standing with God. Pop-Pop's out.